You ever stop and think about all the shows that you used to watch growing up? You know, all the shows that were so amazing to you and captured your mind and your heart and made you want to get up and just go chase your dream. Yeah, I know, we all have these shows, okay? And so today I want to talk about a few of those shows because there's a list that I found online. I was scrolling through Twitter and it popped up and it said, hey, here's the picture for you watching at home. It says, hey, look, top 25 animated shows, eliminate one from each row. So today, I'm going to be doing that for you. I'm going to be eliminating all these until one show is left standing. That's right. So let's get into it. Okay, so full disclosure, I tried to make this video into a TikTok, but apparently the recording limit over there is like 3 minutes, and I talk way more than that. So I decided to make a video for you guys here today. I thought it'd be fun to talk about this list. And again, this list is not made by me. It's made by somebody on Twitter. I don't have their name for you. I'll include it if I find it in post, but as far as the screenshot that I took, I did not include their name. That's my bad. I'm sorry. If you're watching this, I apologize. This list, again, has 25 shows, and they're in a row. So for each row, we're going to go through from left to right, and we're going to pick a winner from that row, and they're going to move on to the next round. So it's going to kind of be like a bracket, but a mini version of it. So let's go and start us off with the first row here. We have, I guess this is 90s inspired, or 90s shows. It's going to be Spider-Man from the 90s, 90s X-Men, Transformers, Pokemon, and Batman Beyond. Okay, so starting us off, this is a pretty solid list. Full disclosure, I did not watch the Transformers show. I know a lot of people loved it, and the movie especially, everyone loved it. It's a classic, but I didn't watch it, so automatically that's going to get voted off for me. So it leaves me with only 4 options. We have Spider-Man, the X-Men, Pokemon, and Batman Beyond. These shows are all classics. I would vote to go eliminated next would be X-Men, because as cool as the X-Men designs are, and their costumes are fucking awesome, and the theme song was really great too, they're kind of boring. They're not the most interesting superheroes. And when I watched it, I was like enthralled by the costumes more than I was the content of the show. So that gets eliminated next for me in this row. Then it would be between Spider-Man and Batman Beyond, because I'm letting you know here, Pokemon, that's not even going to have a battle right now. So I guess it kind of gives it away a little bit. Pokemon, for me, advances in this row, okay? So the reasoning for that is because Spider-Man was a great show, and I enjoyed it. And Batman Beyond was a cool show, but I feel like Batman the Animated Series was a little bit better. And so between those two, I would have picked Spider-Man. But Pokemon is just on another tier of its own in this list. For me, it's the most classic, and the one that stuck with me the most, and the one that I still care about to this day, I guess, the most. Moving on, next row. Now, okay, this row is just the most random collection of shows. We have Rick and Morty, Ben 10, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Green Lantern. I don't understand. It's like, why is Rick and Morty there? I understand it's animated shows. That's kind of cool that we have it mixed up. But it kind of seemed like they were going with a theme with the first row. But the second row, they were like, you know what? No theme. Anyway, Green Lantern. I didn't watch it. I'm not going to lie to you. So that's automatically going to get eliminated for me. Then it's between Rick and Morty, Ben 10, TMNT, and Yu-Gi-Oh! TMNT, I've seen like 2 episodes, so I'm not really attached to that. That's good there. Ben 10, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Rick and Morty. Yu-Gi-Oh! For me, it's fantastic. Still play it to this day, by the way. But the show itself, it was cool. It had its high points, but it definitely had some lows too. And I can get that it kind of feels like Bad Guy of the Week after a while. So I have to eliminate Yu-Gi-Oh! And I know Bad Guy of the Week kind of fits the mold of Ben 10, but Ben 10 was like cool. There were superheroes and fighting, and Yu-Gi-Oh! There wasn't any fighting, like actual fighting. So it's between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Rick and Morty, and despite the fan base of Rick and Morty, I thoroughly enjoy the show, okay? And if you look past that, I think you realize that it's a really good show beyond that too. So I just had to pick Rick and Morty. I'm letting you know now. It's gotta be Rick and Morty because the depth of Rick and Morty, and it's just so funny. It's just really funny. And if, like I said, if you look past the fan base, it's a good show. And Ben 10's cool, but it's just Rick and Morty is better for me. Next round, or next row here. This is probably the row that I've seen the least of out of these shows. We have Spawn, which I've never seen an episode of, X-Men Evolution, Clone Wars, Spectacular Spider-Man, which I've never seen an episode of, and Batman. Oh, The Batman, sorry. Okay, yeah, so The Batman. So I've seen episodes of The Batman, I've seen episodes of Clone Wars, and I've seen episodes of X-Men Evolution. So it's a 3-man race at this point. But between these 3, The Batman, I hated that show when it first came out. I know if you look back on it now, it's not as bad, But when it first was coming out, I was like, what the hell is this? This show is terrible. This theme song is ridiculous. It just wasn't for me. And they did a lot of things differently for the characters. Like the Joker's design was like completely different, which looking back on it now is really cool. But back then I was like, this is too not normal for me. So the Batman gets eliminated. Then it's between the Clone Wars and X-Men Evolution. The Clone Wars is pretty good, but I never finished it. X-Men Evolution, pretty good, never finished it. But between the two, what did I have more fun watching? I think it's X-Men Evolution, because I felt like it was literally like the evolution of the X-Men 90s cartoon. So it felt kind of like it was the show, the series was growing up with you. So the older you got, like you were in more like edgier design. So they gave you like the brown suit Wolverine, and like Spike made his appearance and he was sick. So I'm gonna have to go with X-Men Evolution in this row. So sorry, Clone Wars. Moving on, next row. This one's probably like the toughest row for me. It's gonna be the Batman animated series, Dragon Ball Z, Arcane, Invincible, and Harley Quinn. Okay, so right out of the gate, Arcane, have not seen the episode. I've heard good things, I've never watched it. And I don't play League, so that's another reason. Okay, so then it's a 4-man race. The Batman animated series, Dragon Ball Z. Between those two right there, Dragon Ball Z edges it out for me because I've seen more episodes of Dragon Ball Z than I have the Batman, the animated series. And I know the Batman, the animated series, like fucking, it's fantastic, it's top tier. But Dragon Ball Z is like so important to so many kids, especially here to this channel, Dynamic Entry. Like Dragon Ball Z is like, that's just anime. When you think about anime, you think about Dragon Ball Z. So then it's between the Invincible and Harley Quinn show. These are two of my favorite shows on here. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Invincible, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know how you haven't. It's like, it was like the most hype shit for like the longest time. Anyway, Invincible, the story's great, voice acting's great, the violence is great if you're into violence, and Harley Quinn, it's a show about Harley Quinn. You wouldn't think that a show about Harley Quinn would be super interesting, but they find ways to make her interesting on her own outside of the Joker. I know a lot of the times that's like the biggest thing with her. It's like, how do you make her interesting when she's not just being the girlfriend of Joker? And they found a way with this show. Again, the character works great. Both shows, voice actors, awesome job. Character design for Harley Quinn is awesome, and it's just like, it's a surprise hit for me. And I can't wait for season 3. But between these two, because they're the only two remaining, I guess, and Dragon Ball Z. Between these three, I guess, I'm gonna have to go with Invincible. Why? Because it's clear, concise, and it has like a storyline, through line. Dragon Ball Z is very convoluted and a lot of shit happens, filler, yada yada yada. Harley Quinn, it's really good. It's a really close second with Invincible, but I think Invincible, just the story for me, it got me more. And Harley Quinn's still finding her way. But they're both really good shows. So Invincible moves on for this round. Last and final row here, we have, this is actually a pretty tough row too. Justice League, Teen Titans, Naruto, Batman the Brave and the Bold, and Superman, the animated series. So Superman, it was the worst having to watch this, because if you grew up with the show, you knew on WB they had a block that it would be Superman the animated series and then Batman the animated series right afterwards. So in order to get to Batman the animated series, you have to watch Superman, and I hated watching Superman because he never lost. He always beat anyone he was fighting. It was like, what's the point of this? He's always gonna win. And I guess that's why I didn't pick DBZ for last round either. It's like, he's always gonna win. And so for me, Superman is an easy, like, it's eliminated. So between these four, Batman the Brave and the Bold, Naruto, Teen Titans, Justice League. Teen Titans is really good, but Justice League is like some of the best TV, like, despite like animation. It's just like a really good show, and it just does such a good job of like fleshing out all the characters from the Justice League, and it made me fall more in love with DC. So if you ask me between Marvel and DC, I'm definitely a DC guy because just the characters themselves are just way more interesting. So, but between, you know, Justice League and Teen Titans, I have to pick Justice League. As me now, currently as a human being at this day and age, Justice League over Teen Titans, because Teen Titans, as good as it was, I resonate more with Justice League as an adult, I guess. So Justice League beats out Teen Titans. So then it's between Naruto and Batman the Brave and the Bold. Batman the Brave and the Bold is really good and really funny, and if you go back and watch it now, you'd probably be really surprised. And it actually ends, and it ends really well too. But Naruto is just like such a juggernaut. It's just like DBZ. It's just so important to me and in my life and to this channel, so it's really hard to beat. So Naruto would beat out Batman the Brave and the Bold, and then it's between Justice League and Naruto. And for me, Naruto edges it out. Just because me, as a weeb that I am, I have to pick it, and Justice League's really good, but I like Naruto a lot more. So Naruto advances. So then we have our next 5 here, and so it's an odd number, so one of them has to have a bye. I'm gonna give the bye to X-Men Evolution because it's in the middle row, and it just, to me, that it just looks like it would be the one that gets the bye. So the next round, starting us off, we'd have Pokemon versus Rick and Morty. This is tough because on one hand you have Rick and Morty, which is just like jokes and deep thoughts and a toxic fan base, and then you have Pokemon, which is just adventure and fun and a nice fan base for the most part. And it's just like two opposites fighting each other, and between in my body, two opposite sides, I guess. Who do I want to win? Do I want the adult in me to beat the child in me, which is Pokemon? And currently, as it stands, what show did I watch more though? That's the thing. And the importance of Pokemon is important, but Rick and Morty, I've seen every episode, and Pokemon, I've skipped some episodes. So what is the better show? Like, what has better material and better moments? I have to give it to Rick and Morty. I think that's the right choice. It doesn't feel right, but for me, I had to pick Rick and Morty. I can't lie to you guys. I have to be honest with myself and my feelings, and I've seen more Rick and Morty, and I'm more in tune with that show than I am Pokemon. I'm more in tune with the games. The games is like my bread and butter. The show was cool, but like the games for me, I'm like, oh yeah, Pokemon, love it. So I have to pick based on the show. Rick and Morty advances to the next round. Sorry. And then between the next two, we have Invincible versus Naruto. Now this is a battle here because, again, it's just like a battle of like a concise storyline that we have so far, because Invincible is still going on. A concise story versus Naruto, which has like a bunch of fillers and moments that you're like, what am I watching here? And it's clashing inside me again. The action in both shows is really good. The story, I feel, is pretty even. If you know what fully happens, I guess, in Invincible, if you read the book on them, but it's what we've seen so far, I guess. So it's a hard battle. I don't know who to pick. Between Invincible and Naruto, who am I going here? Who's a better show for me? Let's just assume that we're talking about Naruto and not Shippuden at all, because in this picture, just as Naruto, I'm gonna have to pick Invincible. It's hard for me, I know. We're an anime show here, but I have to pick Invincible because it has a better storyline as it stands, what we've seen. And so far, what we've seen in Naruto, we've seen what happens in that first Naruto, not Shippuden, but Naruto. And I like what Invincible has done more than I like what Naruto has done. And it's just hard to beat a show that's shorter versus a show that's longer, that's had to go on for so long. But Invincible goes on to the next round. I'm sorry, it's hard there. So then we have 3 remaining contestants. Let's just have them all fight each other. No buys on this one. It's gonna be Rick and Morty, X-Men Evolution, Invincible. X-Men Evolution, I'm not gonna lie to you, got a buy. I shouldn't have got the buy last round, but it did. It doesn't belong here. It's not a Cinderella story, okay? I'm sorry. X-Men Evolution's getting eliminated. It doesn't stand up to these other two. Then we have Rick and Morty versus Invincible. And this is a battle of just, again, it's just like ridiculousness versus like over the top, but in a more violent way that's just more important. And it's kind of tough for me, but it's kind of not at the same time. I'm gonna have to go with Invincible. Maybe it's recency bias because of what I've seen and how I feel about the show as it stands, but Invincible is a better show. And I know a lot of you guys might agree, because some of you guys really hate Rick and Morty, but some of you guys might not agree and think that Rick and Morty is like the best show ever, which it stands. It's a really good show. But as far as like animation and pushing the budget and pushing a storyline, I feel like Invincible has done that a lot more. If Rick and Morty stuck to their actual storyline of like evil Morty and Rick and him having their relationship that they had, like the anime that they had, the little animated series, whatever, kind of like in that term, I guess it'd be a better story for what you're seeing. But for me, Invincible is a better story, better characters, and just better overall. It's not as close as you think if you look back on it, but I just feel like Invincible at this point in time, for me, probably my favorite show. Favorite show on this list? Maybe. I know it's beat everybody here, but it didn't fight everybody. I don't know. But yeah, so Invincible, to answer the person who tweeted this out's question about eliminating one till one's left, Invincible for me is left standing, much like in his show. After everything, he might have his ass beat and bloodied, but he's still standing at the end of it, and that is Invincible for me. So go watch Invincible if you haven't watched it, I guess. You've probably seen it by now. It's been out for a long time. And I guess let me know down below what you think is the best show out of these 25 shows. I'm sure you disagree. It's really hard to agree on one singular show. All these shows are really great. Like I said, I guess it depends on my mood. I could have picked any of these other shows depending on my mood. But the way it stands currently in this time, this version of me, I'm picking Invincible. So thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe down below, follow us, all that fun stuff, and maybe I'll do another one if it pops up. But for now, go stream Invincible.